Thank you so much for being here and for joining us. My name is Leesa Streifler, and I'm the director and curator here at Dunlop Art Gallery. We're so glad to have you here. Welcome. So I'd like to start off with doing a land acknowledgement. I acknowledge that I'm currently situated, or we are currently situated on Treaty 4 territory, the original lands of the Cree, Ojibwe, Saulteaux, Dakota, Nakota, Lakota, and the homeland of the Métis. Regina Public Library is committed to working together with Indigenous peoples as we take important steps forward on the pathway of collaboration, reconciliation, and change. So we're here today to celebrate Leesa. Leesa has had an extremely important impact on the arts ecology of Regina and, well, just more than Regina, across Canada, across the prairies more broadly. She taught at the University of Regina for more than 30 years, and as someone who is relatively new to Regina, I'm learning just how important and significant the impact she's had on so many artists that I've gotten to know and that I've gotten to work with here in Regina. I first came to know Leesa while I was living and working in Brandon, Manitoba. And so it's exciting to have the opportunity to present her work here at Dunlop. Also, several of Leesa's works are in Dunlop's permanent collection. So I have some thank yous to do before I pass things off to Wendy. So thank you, of course, to Wayne Baerwaldt for guest curating the exhibition. Thank you to Jennifer McRory, who is the director of Moose Jaw's Museum and Art Gallery, for supporting this important tour of Leesa's work. And thank you, of course, to the small but mighty team at Dunlop Art Gallery. That's Wendy Peart, Thomas Johnson, John Cody, Jesse Dishaw, Eric Hill, Sarah Pittman, Aisha Mosin, Margaret Basai, Tai Sang, and Shameen Agumina. So now I'll pass things off to Wendy Peart, who is the curatorial liaison for this exhibition. Thank you.
Thanks, Leesa. Well, so great to see a full house out today on a beautiful June day. So welcome to this artist conversation with Leesa Streifler and Wayne Baerwaldt. It has been an extreme pleasure to work with both of them over the past year and more critically in the last couple of months, and to bring this exhibition of brand new work to our gallery. Leesa already thanked Jennifer, so I'll just kind of go on. But I just wanted to note that Leesa had an exhibition here 27 years ago called Normal. So this body of work kind of follows up really eloquently on the things that she was talking about in that body of work. I've known Leesa for many years. I'm going to start crying, but anyway. She was my lead supervisor at the university. Sorry. Okay, I'm going to try really hard. Leesa was instrumental to me in this formative time, and a very fertile time for me that has led me to where I am now, in a really good place. She has always been a huge source of inspiration, leadership, and friendship over the years. So needless to say, it has been a real full circle for me being able to highlight Leesa's work in this capacity. Her topics of feminism, body politics, and ageism have been and still are incredibly important issues affecting our society, everybody. Thank you, Leesa, for keeping these hot topics on our radar. We still have work to do. Just a reminder that following this discussion, I will introduce Anastasia Evsegnieva before we move to the gallery to watch her performance, Art and Movement. So I'm just going to do bios now, we'll get going. Excuse me. Leesa Streifler received her BFA at the University of Manitoba and an MFA from Hunter College in New York. She taught at the Department of Visual Arts at the University of Regina for over 30 years, influencing generations of art students. She has been exhibited widely in Canada and internationally. She is passionate about feminism and art education, actively mentoring other artists through MAWA, which is mentoring art. Streifler lives and works on Treaty 1 territory on the original lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Cree, and on the homeland of the Red River Métis. Wayne Baerwaldt is a Canadian independent curator. His best-known projects trace performative elements in art making with an emphasis on unstable, disputed identities and the language of their construction. He has curated and co-curated numerous exhibitions, including Yudessa Himdali's Grand Hotel, If I May Digress, Richard Boulay, Glenn Ligon, Some Changes with Thelma Gordon, and Taras Politanko, Defiance, among others. He is a board member of the Natashan Foundation in Ottawa and serves on the advisory board for Participant Inc., New York. So, welcome.
Hi, Wayne.
I
haven't seen you in a while.
haven't seen you in a while. No, we've had a great week here, and I just wanted to say thank you to everyone here at the Dunlop Art Gallery. It's been a pleasure working here, and everything worked so smoothly, and there was a great rapport with staff here that actually inspired the installation in certain ways. So again, thank you very much for having us here this week.
I second that. It was just great. The Cody and Jesse were amazing, and Wendy, can't thank you enough for everything you did, and Alyssa and Thomas and Eric. It was just great. It was great being here. Fantastic week.
Great. Okay. So looking around the room, I think many of you know Leesa's work from over the past 25 plus years. Here in Regina, she's been working, of course, steadily in Winnipeg now, where she's based for the last 5 years. And this body of work, I think, is really from over the last 3 to 5 years, primarily.
3 years.
3 years, okay. And the sketchbooks, of course, are amazing. I think for some reason, a bit of a revelation to me all over again, even though we've gone through this process of preparing for a survey exhibition that opens the end of September at the Moose Jaw Museum and Art Gallery. But the sketchbooks are, I don't know, so thrilling to see this work and to be able to play with the sketchbooks, so to speak, and put the images in juxtaposition with one another. So I think I will begin by discussing the themes that we can recognize in these 13 large-scale pieces and the sketchbooks you see in the gallery. And that is certainly, issues of women and aging and ageism, but also social justice and well-being and identity. So I just wanted to ask Leesa if she can begin by telling us how she came to this subject matter, especially the work from the last 3 years now, and the mediums in which she's working. How would the mediums be appropriate for the sort of subject matter she's taking on?
Okay, well, we're all aging all the time, so it's something we share as an issue, a concern. I think what really brought this to the fore for me was taking care of my mother. So my mother was ill for about 4 years, from 86 to 90. And I watched her decline, and I spent a lot of time at the long-term facility that she was at for about 4 years. And I saw, lots of people there, and I just developed an incredible empathy for what we go through at the end stages of life. And then my own aging. So it's, like even this microphone is heavy for me. Like I'd rather hold it with 2 hands, I think. So there's a lot of changes. And, there's sadness, there's a sense of loss. There's also a sense of empowerment, because I know that I'm more confident. I know that I know more now. I know that I'm better at what I do now. But I also feel sad for the woman that I am not anymore, because, and I wish I knew what I know now when I was her back then. So it's like, it's so complicated. It's not just a single thing, right? Loss, joy, empowerment.
But I think you're also a very feisty artist in your own way. You're very self-effacing. But I think what you're taking on requires you to actually be more proactive and also activist and challenging the sort of representation you see in mass media about women and aging.
Right. Okay. I really feel angry about a lot of things, I feel angry about, all the makeup that's, on the shelves there, and all the beauty products and the beauty treatments that we're supposed to do to look better, and all the pressure that I've felt my entire life and still feel to look good above everything else, to look good. And it's just ingrained in me that, if you want to be a successful woman, if you want to be, a good woman, you should look good. And it's like, oh my God, it takes a lot of effort to look good. And, thank God I can work in a studio alone, because I look like hell. I like that. I can go anywhere, like Home Depot, and, I fit right in, so like doing this kind of presentation, I'm very aware of, presenting the body, and I don't enjoy it. And
But you bring
I
a
feel-
critical eye to it all, and I think that's really important.
I think I'm a person who can fit into a lot of places, but I appreciate women who choose not to, who choose to take a different path.
Mhm.
I appreciate women who do it with ease. And I love clothing, and I love makeup. I love all these girly, things that we're supposed to like. I do, but it's incredible pressure, incredible money that needs to be spent on these things, and I just resent that. I'm angry that we even need to go there.
But it's also in contrast to generally speaking, a male world where men are aging, and I have to say, generally speaking.
Now I'm going to get really mad.
I know.
I didn't want to mention men. I was going to not mention men.
Well,
Okay, so not to alienate all the men. Okay, so when men get dressed up, what do? They wear more clothes. They wear a suit. They wear a jacket. They're always wearing flat shoes. When women get dressed up, we show more flesh, so we're more vulnerable. Plus, traditionally we wore high heel shoes. So in men don't wear makeup, now there's more of a pressure on men though. There's more and more products for men. There's more about men showing off bodies. I'm talking about the young generation. There's more pressure. It's a different kind of pressure. But another thing I wanted to say was that I feel, incredible empathy for the aging process. So, I don't know which is more, the anger and also there's curiosity. I have a ton of curiosity about the aging process. Like I can't stop thinking about, I'm obsessed with this, I think now. I can't stop thinking anatomically what happens to your body as you age. And like I start with the face because it's so detailed. How when the things fall and everything, it's just fascinating to me. And I keep drawing it and redrawing it and trying to understand it better, and like to draw things like loose flesh and cellulite and marks on the skin. It's hard. It's not easy to draw that stuff. And I started my career drawing beautiful women. They didn't have any sagging flesh or anything like that because, we're taught that we all love beauty, I think, and we're taught that beauty is, the ideal to make a picture of beauty when you're making the body, but to try to draw the body aged is not easy. And so I had to teach myself. And every time I see a person, I'm looking at them, and I'm looking at myself and trying to figure out, what happened. It's like, if I was brave enough, I'd probably have a facelift, but I'm not that vain and not brave. So, I'm also now interested, but I haven't worked on that yet, probably to come maybe. All the stuff people are doing to their faces and bodies in terms of altering them.
mm-hmm. So you're talking about drawing in a very specific
I'm talking
way.
about drawing.
But I think what you do with your drawing is a little bit different. You're introducing text and sort of a diaristic formula where you're not all of the text is actually available for me to look at because it's very personal to her, and it's embedded in those 10 sketchbooks that we see in the other room, or 8 sketchbooks right now. But maybe you could talk about how text enters into that imagistic world that you have developed.
So my studio practice, I think students here know this, that I start every session in the studio with a with sitting down and writing in my sketchbook and drawing in my sketchbook, and I write and I draw equally. So, and the writing can be like, it could be a grocery list, it could be what really bugs me about something happening in my life, but it could be more poetic and more profound, kind of, musings about aging, and directed, I won't say profound, really directed musings about aging. So it sort of has a huge range, and sometimes words that I think really characterize what I'm thinking. And the sketchbooks in the show are only from the past 3 years, because for the next show, they're going to be over the past 35, 40 years. So there's about 100 of them to choose from. So I sit down and I draw, and I never use those drawings to make these large works. They're not plans for these works. They're a stream of consciousness trying to collect my ideas, trying to just center myself to be in the studio, which I consider a pretty sacred place. I don't just invite people there lightly, and I'm always there by myself. And it's a big step from going from the outside world into the studio. And it takes me a long time to feel centered. And sometimes I just spend the whole session writing in my sketchbook, because I might be too tired too to climb on a ladder and do this kind of stuff. Or I work small too. You can see some small drawings there. I was working on a Barbie series before the movie, I might add. So anyway, I put a lot of studio shots in here, because after each session, at the end of each session, I take pictures of what I did, so I can go home and look at them, because I find it very objectifying to look on my phone at the image. I can really see what's wrong with it, so it's very good. Okay, so the sketchbooks, did that answer the question?
Yeah, I'm just wondering how you edit that material, the diaristic parts,
okay.
the parts where you were in text, you're reflecting on society, injustices, and I don't necessarily see an easy transfer of material, but is it more intuitive?
It's very intuitive. I really believe in a stream of consciousness and chance, and that all the thoughts are in me and they're part of me. And so, if I've written them in the sketchbook, they'll probably come out sometime here, but I don't plan for them to come out. I figure it's all me, the stuff I'm thinking about, the kind of words I use, the kind of language I use, and it'll come out. If it's important enough, it'll come out in the work. So the sketchbook practice is really, it's a preparation, it's like warming up. I guess in dance, this might be warming up. But it's also extremely important to me. And I realized just a couple of years ago that I think the best work I do is in my sketchbooks. So what I've been doing now is the thing that I never did, what I told never to do when I was in art school, to rip pages out of my sketchbook. And then I take them and have them photocopied at Staples. And I hope the person that I'm giving them to it's usually a young woman, and so far so good. She's been interested in them. I've not been crazy about them. But anyway, so I have them photocopied onto acetate, and then I've been painting them on the backside. And there's a couple of those in the cases here. But that's what I used to do. I used to paint on the reverse side of plexiglass. So it's going back to something I did a long time ago, and it's very easy for me to paint those because they're very small. I mean, it's not easy, but it's not physically demanding like this work. And then if they turn out well, which they don't always, I can enlarge them in a photographic process by having them scanned. So because I find the sketchbook, because it's effortless, I'm only using a regular pen, just any kind of pen that I have, and I find because it's effortless and I'm in a stream of consciousness kind of state, that it's the most honest work. So I'd rather capture that. This stuff is honest, but it's very worked. I mean, this is very, very, it's there's a lot of contemplation of this. It's not just immediate. There's immediate aspects to it, but I have to keep thinking about it as a whole in a large presentation. So it's a different thing.
It kind of leads us to this idea of process and how you work with materiality, how you work with text, subject matter, the sort of intuitive material that goes into a work. And I think students are often, especially in art school, are interested in how do you come up with your sort of template for working. And so I just wanted to ask you a bit about influences. You know, we talked about Jim Dine at one point being a big influence. And maybe you could just, if you know Jim Dine's work, pop artist, particular sculptural installation work, very visceral drawing technique, I would say. Maybe you could just talk a bit about influences, you know, which every artist has and reveals at some point in time.
Well, Wayne's just been in Venice for a long time, for about a month or so. He was at the Venice Biennale helping artist Yadessa Handless, and he told me there's a Wayne Dine show there. He showed me what Jim Dine. Sorry, wait. Jim Dine show. Thank you. I'm sure he has a cousin Wayne, probably. A Jim Dine show there, and I want to go now. I want to go to Venice just because of the Jim Dine show. I love that artist because I feel that he can do everything. He does sculpture, drawing, painting, everything so well. Expressionism, realism. But anyway, I have so many artists that have influenced me and that I like, and their work is nothing like mine. I mean, so it goes all the way. But I mean, my main influences were expressionism, abstract expressionism, you know, the art of the 60s and 70s. And, you know, when I was in New York in the 80s, all those artists from the 80s, women artists, feminist artists, Cindy Sherman, Barbara Kruger, artists who use text. But I really, you know, Jim Dine, is my ultimate favorite. If I had to pick one, but, you know, I'm just so influenced by so many artists.
Yeah,
I love art, obviously.
I think that's absolutely natural. I think an artist synthesizes, takes from the past, the present, current information, their location where they're working in. So, no, it's just interesting to kind of reflect on.
Yeah, but I mean, the German expressionists, and then, you know, Agnes Martin, her writing. Oh my God, I'm so inspired by her writing. My work doesn't look anything like hers. It's minimalist lines. Although I think someone, or maybe herself, called her an expressionist. So I think maybe she calls herself an expressionist. But anyway, her writing was very influential. And reading, you know, Susan Sontag essays, we were talking about that, very influential. So I think it's just eclectic. It's just from reading feminist theory, reading photographic theory. I'm very interested in photography, looking at photographs. Diane Arbus was a huge influence at the beginning because she photographed people who were marginalized, and I'm very interested in marginalized people. And I feel that older women, as we age, we become marginalized, and so that's a very sad thing. It should be the opposite way. You know, in Indigenous culture, the older women, the elders of society, and they're valued very highly for their knowledge and their life experience. But in our society, Western, white society, the older you get, the more useless you become. You know, people think you can't think properly, you can't drive properly, you can't move properly, and then it's not valued. What's valued is fast thinking, fast movement, the ability to move, so all these things that as we age become so, what was I going to say? Like more, as we age, we become so much wiser, but yet we're devalued. And to me, that's just so sad, so sad.
Mm-hmm. And I think the work you're doing is bringing these sort of issues to light in a great way, very critical
This
way.
is the oldest woman in the show.
Yeah.
And this is that's the last piece I did. It's called Blanket. I did that because we had to take that out of the show. There were too many works, but that went with it. But so I'm going in a more minimal, I think, on a minimal track with terms of color and everything. But you know, that woman was in a wheelchair, and you know, everybody in long-term care is in a wheelchair, and the first thing to go are the legs. And I've experienced these things myself. I've started to experience these things. So there's a sadness, there's a loss, definitely. And there's also a guilt too. Oh, I didn't exercise enough in my life. I was too heavy. I sat too much. Maybe I'm to blame for this decline that's happening, right?
But maybe on a more positive note.
Now I'll start crying. Okay.
No, I'm just thinking, going back to the studio again. Maybe you can describe for us what a typical day would be like for you in the studio. Just on
Yeah.
It's interesting.
So this is my studio. There's lots of these shots. I put them in because I think they're of interest. So I have plastic on the wall, as you can see, because I make a huge mess. And I use a lot of water, so I have to have plastic on the floor too. A typical day would be that I come to the studio in the afternoon. People who I taught with know that I'm not a morning person. I'm a morning person in the house. As long as I'm in my bathrobe, I can do a lot of things. I might cook some things. I might do a lot of emails. I might, do some laundry. But that's fine. But it's not my creative time. So I get to the studio like around 1. And then I can work. Well, now that it's light out for a long time, I could work till 6. But in the winter, unfortunately, I have to try to get to the studio about 11 because I have to leave there around 4. So I have to change. And I like the summer better because I like to start late. I have lunch. I have to have something to eat. So I can't make art on an empty stomach. I feel lightheaded and I feel terrible. So I eat something and that grounds me as well. And then I get the sketchbook out and I start writing and drawing. And I I put the earbuds in and get the music on. And then I start working. It depends. I have 6 of them I can fit in my studio. It's pretty big size. It's 750 square feet. I can fit 6. So I have them started. Lots of them are on my wall for 2 years because I wasn't sure how to finish them. So I love starting things. Starting things is great. I don't like, so I get to about the middle and then I know what it says. I'm happy with it and I don't want to finish it, but you have to finish it if you're going to show it. So, I force myself a bit to work and then I kind of fool myself. I get into it.
Well, there are artists like Eleanor Bond, to name names, who will finish a work in the gallery space before it's while it's being exhibited. Just
okay.
Right.
Well, I didn't know that. I know Jagala did that. Artists have done that, but I didn't know she did that. But I brought my oil sticks with me in case a lot of the colors that are in the later pieces, in case I had to do a touch up or anything. But first of all, I was too tired and I was in a different mode. Like hanging a show is a different mode than creating. So no, I didn't do that. But I prayed that I don't pray either. So I mean, I strongly hoped that this work wasn't a bunch of crap. Having a solo show, I know this sounds really stupid and my family thought I was crazy, but having a solo show is scary. It felt like a birth. It really did. It's 3 years.
It's also taking all of this work out of a very crowded space, pieces and in pieces, sections of paper, putting them together again, giving them proper space and lighting. That is scary.
It is scary because a lot of them I hadn't seen for a while because I had to take them apart and put them away. Although I've seen their images on my screen. But I wasn't sure if, you're never sure, is this good work or not? Because when you put in the gallery, it's a public test. That's a test. That's the ultimate test. So you don't know if you'll like it, never mind the public. So, I'm already finding, it's only been a couple days, but I'm already finding that some pieces I thought were maybe a little weaker, I wasn't so sure about, are becoming my favorite pieces. So, and then that one with the pink border around it with the wheelchair, the one in the wheelchair, the blanket, it's new. And I thought, it's only about 3 months old. And I thought, oh my God, I don't know about this piece. What is this piece? But I felt very close to it. And it's proven to be what I thought it was. So that's a relief, But no, as an artist, you don't feel I can feel confident about work I did maybe 20 years ago that I've looked at, and okay, that was good. I like that one. But this hasn't stood the test of time. And it's different medium. It's oil stick, which I haven't used since undergraduate school. And it's big scale and it's paper. I haven't worked on paper. I used to work on canvas on a large scale. So yeah, I you're never sure. You're never sure.
No, I think there's always a sense of insecurity, but you trust intuition in the end. And I like the way you take these sort of attributes into the community. So Wendy mentioned mentoring artists for women's art, which is one of the longest running programs in Canada, really, for the promotion of and support of women's art. Very successful, highly influential. And you're part of that process now, being in Winnipeg. I think that's
Winnipeg
very
is
interesting.
a great place for art. Not enough galleries. I mean, it's shocking. Regina has much more in that way. It's really shocking, and that makes me mad. So, and I want to do something about it. I feel like opening a gallery, but I'm not doing it because I know what that means. And people have tried in Winnipeg and they've failed. Anyway, but there's a lot of terrific artists in Winnipeg. But Mawa started in 1980 or 81, and it's, well, Carfax has a model here in Saskatchewan, mentorship. But, so it's women mentoring women, anybody identifying as a woman. And I was a mentor 2 years ago, and I had 2 mentees, and I've done a couple other small mentorships. And I love teaching, and I love being a mentor. So I believe in helping any artist, and this is women artists who really need it. And I didn't go through the program because I left in 1980. I left Winnipeg, and that's when it was started. So I wish I had. Going through this program is fantastic. It's called Foundation Mentorship Program, and it lasts a year, and you meet with your mentor once. Anyway, you have certain times you meet with your mentor, and then certain times you meet as a group, all the mentees and mentors. And, you get a lot of support, and it's terrific. And anyway, one of my mentees just wrote me this morning, wishing me well. And, it's so nice. She remembered, but must have put in her calendar that today was the day. And it's very gratifying, to help other artists. And they have shows, like member shows throughout the year, and they have great workshops and things. And so I'm trying to be involved. And I met a new best friend, Barb Hunt, the artist Barb Hunt, who I've admired for over 20 years. Didn't know her, didn't know she had any affiliation with Winnipeg, but she does. And she decided to retire there. She taught at Grenfell and somewhere, and I think Concordia maybe, or Queens too. Okay, yeah. And she's an amazing fibers artist, and she's having a solo show this fall at C2 Craft in Winnipeg. Anyway, she and I are, like, as she says, copacetic. We're copacetic. So it's great.
Mm-hmm. No, I think I wanted to just point out that you're part of a discourse.
Yeah,
more than one generation of artists in the community.
Right.
And I think that's so important, for making your work relevant and keeping it.
I do
relevant.
love that.
Yeah.
I love that and in this room, there's, those 2 little girls over there with their pink laptops and headsets. And then there's artists all the way up to, older women sitting in the front row here. My aunt is here, Elaine Campbell from Vancouver. I won't say her exact age, but she's older than 20, and she's an artist, and she gave me my first set of acrylic paints. So she's right here in the front row beside you, Marcia, and
Lynn Goldman is here too.
Lynn Goldman is here. So we have women
of
of all
knowledge.
ages here, and I think that's so important to support one another, because women are doing better in terms of getting shows and positions of power and authority, like directorships. So we've got Leesa, we've got Wendy, but there's still a ways to go. And there's also, can I say one more thing? Also with women, we're the ones who have the children, bear the children and nurse the children. So children, men sure are definitely doing their part now. There's fantastic men in the audience that I know that are raising their children. But, a lot of it falls on women. And, there's all these things to do. If you decide to have a family, you're going to be doing food prep, you're going to be doing doctor's visits, you're going to be doing, all this stuff. And that's a whole other situation that, a lot of women have found themselves single mothers. There's a lot that complicates when you can make art and how you can make art.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that's part of your discourse as well. I'm just thinking too that you expand on your discourse by involving yourself in other media. So performance and performativity,
yes.
I think, is part of actually drawing at the scale that you draw at. So, but you've extended into actually a collaboration that's, without
Yes.
giving too much away, maybe you could just talk
Oh, yeah,
how
yeah,
this came about.
definitely. Well, Robin is here, Robin Quattro is here, and Robin said to me that I have to go and see this dancer in Winnipeg. And I think I was sick, or my husband Kenneth was sick, one of us was sick, but Robin said go, and so that I had to go, we had to go. So we were gonna go if we were sick or not. So we went, and this performance was unbelievable. And it was Anastasia Evseniva, who's gonna be performing in a few minutes for us, and her partner, Anna Protskewer. I can't remember exactly how to pronounce her name, but she's going to be performing in New Dance Horizon things this weekend. Anyway, I loved this dance, and it really spoke to me. And I think in the flyer that came with it, the program, it said that they love to collaborate. So I thought, I'd been thinking since I got to Winnipeg that I'd like to contact contemporary dancers or Royal Winnipeg Ballet to see if they might want to, have something, me do something. And because I've been very influenced by ballet, by dance. I am not a dancer, but I'm a viewer of dance. And I love watching bodies move. And it's taught me a lot about the body and also given me a lot of pleasure. And so I contacted Anastasia, and she said, sure, let's meet. So she's half my age, and but we connect. Of course, it doesn't matter what age you are. It's if you're going to connect on ideas. Oh yeah, and she's like the opposite of me. I'm very stiff. She's very flexible, and she's very flexible in her mind. And she's concerned about women's issues. And I told her about my project working on aging women. I asked her, would you like to work with me? I was going to make a video myself, about aging. And then I decided I'd like to make a video with her, and so we decided we'd do that. And we did. We made a video together, but we ran out of money, so it's not edited yet, and it doesn't have sound yet, but we're going to keep going. So we filmed it. And so for today, she's going to, that's what we did. We met several times, and we had these, not rehearsals, but, just meetings. And I would project my work like that, and she would move. And I mean, the first time it happened, it brought me to tears because my work was 8 feet on the wall, and she projected, and she was moving to it. And she made my work come alive. And that's not what the film is, but that's what she's going to do in the gallery today. And it's so great to connect with someone from a different discipline. I mean, Robin and I always had a connection, and we've done some collaborations together, and it's just so rewarding. I also find it's easier to get work done when you collaborate with someone. It goes faster. It goes much faster.
Yeah.
Not because there's two people working on it, but just, I don't know, the synergy brings things up faster. Ideas up faster.
Well, it's about 20 to 1 right now, and if we're all going to move into the gallery, right?
Yeah, it'll start 1:15. We have 15 minutes for questions here, but now we'd have more if we want to stop. Now we have more time for questions.
Do you have anything else you'd like to bring up?
Yeah, one more thing. It's a technical thing. So you'll see that some of these pieces are many pieces of paper, and some are one piece of paper. It's really practical reasons and just kind of process reasons. Like that's one piece of paper. I started working with UPO, which is polypropylene. So it's not paper, it's plastic really. When I went on a residency in Scotland in 2014, because I got a small pad of it from Saskatoon, the art store, and I couldn't take anything big with me because I was going, to Europe. So I took it with me, and I took my Caran d'Ache crayons, and I took ink and gouache, and I loved this paper. It was fantastic to work on it because it's slippery, and so things won't stick, so they stick in a different way, and I loved it. Anyway, so I thought, I'm going to order a roll of polypropylene. Anyway, it took like 6 months to come in. So while it was coming in, I bought sheets that they had in Winnipeg, fairly big, but and then I bought also mylar, frosted mylar, and I just thought, I'm going to start piecing them together and then just see what happens. And then, so I would draw something and then I might need more room over here. So I would add another sheet. And I thought, well, this is fun. It was fun to do it. And also I like breaks and things. I don't like a continuous thing. Just philosophically, I prefer if something's broken and something's not perfect and something's not continuous and not exactly right, because I never put anything, I don't measure anything. I like that it's a bit off because I feel that's my philosophy of who we are. We're not perfect, we're not coherent, anyway, so we're continuous. So well, you were going to ask me about the title of the show, but we can do that after. But then the role came in. I thought, okay, well, that's nice, it's very big. So I unrolled it and I thought, okay, it's good. I'll see what I can do. But, the jury's out for me, how I'm going to continue. I don't know. I like them both. I think it's easier and more fun to do the many parts, actually. Harder to show, harder to install. That's for sure. I don't know.
That's a good point, actually. When you see the exhibition, most of you have, the installation of each piece can look very awkward or don't you think?
Yeah, some
Does
of them
it
aren't
feel that way?
square. Some of them
They're
aren't
not,
square.
Yeah, they're not square, but purposely so, just to let you know that that's part of the
Because they
working
had to be
process
put
in
up the way they
studio.
were made, because the drawing continues, and if it's not square, it still has to follow that line. So it's
Exactly.
hard to install.
Exactly. On that note, I thought maybe you can just talk about the next body of work. You're talking about materials coming into the gallery.
I'm
If
not
you have any
sure, but
thoughts on
I've
that.
started because I got tired of working on these because they were on my wall for so long. I wasn't sure how to finish some of them. So I thought I need to start something else because it was 3 years. It's a long time. And so I started another series with Raggedy Ann dolls, because this is because of Jim Dine. Jim Dine, his recent series is of Pinocchios, and I love it. I think it's fantastic. So I thought, I'm going to do a Raggedy Ann doll. So I ordered one from eBay that's exactly like the one I had when I was a kid, and Anne and Andy, both of them. And so I've done 4. I want to do 20 on Mylar. They're just 36 by, or so, I can't remember, like middle size, and like I did them on an easel and on a board. And I want to make big ones. So when I get home, I want to make this size, the big ones when I get home. All the Raggedy Ann dolls. I don't know. It's a girl. Raggedy Ann's a girl. She has a heart. She loves you. I'm talking about childhood, so girlhood. But I just have to say the title of the show, She is Present, is because it's the opposite of She is Absent. It's simple answer. Simple answer. I want her to be absent or invisible. She's present. The older aging woman is present.
Good point. Any comments, thoughts, questions? Jennifer?
I was wondering, Leesa, we talked about this body of work in relation to your normal series, which showed at the Dunlop in 97. And so there's 24 years apart. And besides the scale, although you did have the giants in that show as well, I was wondering if there's the same rage that was evident in the normal pieces. The rage is the same for you, and then what differences there are.
Okay, I'll repeat the question because it might be hard to hear. So in a nutshell, the question was, Jen's question is, my show Normal that was here 24 years ago, in that show there was a lot, Jen knows this because she's spoken to me about it, there was a lot of rage in the show, My Rage, about women, the objectification of women's bodies and women's behavior, but a lot about bodies. Is that rage still present in this show, in this work? No, it's not. I'm more, I've got a lot more empathy, compassion going on. I'm not angry about, well, I'm in a different stage. I was in middle age then, like I was about 40 then, now early 40s. So I was very concerned about that and the working woman and the, I don't know if I was not a mother yet. Actually, I was not a mother yet. Now it's about, I've done work on mothering since then. It's more now about looking backwards at the history of a woman's life. That was about body image and how women are perceived. And I was angry that women were objectified. That was the main, and also the feeling of having a woman's body and trying to meet a certain standard. So that's part of it is in there, because the beauty part, especially that piece and a couple pieces. But mostly it's about the history of a life now and looking backwards and appreciating and having compassion. I think my compassion is much more than it was then, rather than anger. And rather, that show was really aimed at telling men something, that you better start not objectifying women and treating women, well. This show is more, and it was for women. This show's for women as well, and meant to empower women, but more about accepting who you are and how your life will unravel. I mean, not unravel in a bad way. I don't mean that. I mean, like how your life will move forward, both physically and psychologically.
Anyone else?
Like you touched on how, like in indigenous cultures, they value the elderly, right? And how our society just doesn't do that. And I'm curious why we do that. And like, what comes to mind is like an attempt to deny our own mortality, that we have to die, And like in a way, we just push that away and like pretend like we can't. So I almost see like there's a spiritual element to life and death in this.
I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think that's great. Yeah, there's this desire to keep young, youth culture, just keep everything young, because it's very scary to confront death and the path towards death. I don't know, I can't think of anything better than that. That's pretty good. And I think, I think it has to do with economics too, because you can sell a lot of products with people's fear in mind. And I see young women spending a lot of money, and apparently, young girls are now spending a lot of money on face. They're called like regimes for your face, for your skin. I'm really, if I had a young daughter, you'd have a lot of work to do to explain all that stuff. I mean, I don't know what this emphasis, and there's also this huge emphasis on outward appearances in our culture. So I have one piece in the show where her head is not, she's holding her head, it's down there. And that was about not wanting to have a body. Like I had this feeling one day, like a eureka thought, not in the studio, like outside the studio. It would be great if I didn't have a body, just a head, because all the things I like are in my head. Like, I mean, I like thinking about ideas. I like looking at things. I like eating things. It's all in my head. And maybe I could just take my head off my body. So that's where that came from, which is like a crazy thought, of course. But, so sometimes whimsical, crazy, childlike ideas come to me and I go with them because, creativity is about that. It's not about judging. That's the one place I don't judge myself, is in the studio. I think it's the only place. I don't judge myself, and I'm not trying to impress anybody, and no one's judging me either. It's my happy place for sure. I get tired of being alone. I do. I'm a person who likes people. So, I like to go and see people and meet people, and I put that into my routine, and I will, give up studio days for sure to spend time with my family and to make friends and stuff. So I will do that because I need that. I not just like studio. Because where will the art come from then if I don't live life? And it's not good for me.
Anybody else? Questions or comments? Oh, Holly.
I have a follow-up to what you just said, because I was thinking about how I feel in the studio. So you're working with the body, and you're talking about this kind of freedom when you're in your studio, and it's hard for women to forget about their bodies. So I'm wondering if, as you're working, do you forget about your body? Yes, you have to reach and stuff, but it's not there. It's not at the forefront. It's just gone.
Yeah, I like wearing studio clothes that are really comfortable. Of course, my whole wardrobe becomes studio clothes, like every artist, because I go in there, I put my good clothes on or my regular clothes, and then I think, oh, I just have to touch up that thing over there. Oh, the white gets on, the white acrylic paints on the black thing, and now it's a studio clothes. So I have lots of studio clothes, and that's what I wear, like a t-shirt and like some baggy pants, and yeah, I do and lots of times no bra. Love that. Like I've got, no one's looking at me, and it was like a sabbatical. Like my sabbatical, I never wore a bra either. And it's like, you know, I love that. I do try to forget about my body. Yeah, and tie my hair back. I always wear my hair tied back. I only wear it down for special occasions. So, yeah, just to forget about, I never wear any jewelry. The first thing I do if I happen to be out somewhere, so I had my ring on, I take it off. I might take off my watch. I don't like having anything encumbering me. And sometimes I exercise, like, you know, do some stretches in there. And yeah, it's a place where you can lose your sense that you're being looked at. But I do try to do my posture stuff, like not try to hunch over too much, because I hunch over a lot, and I have to catch myself. And I try to do that in the studio too, because, you know, but lots of times you're in this weird, you know, you have to hunch over. So.
Eric?
What music do you listen to in the studio?
Okay, well, I'm like Zachary Logan. I love Joni Mitchell. Oh, sorry. What music do I listen to in the studio? Well, you know, I'm a little old-fashioned. I mean, I'll give away my vintage, of course. You know, so usually bodies of work go with certain music. Not that I paired them together, but I just happen to be listening to that music in that period. So right now I'm into the Cowboy Junkies again. I haven't listened to them since the 80s or whatever that was. Yeah, the 80s. Cowboy Junkies are really good for me now. I like repeating the same albums over and over, so I feel very comfortable with them. That makes me feel good. I can't try anything new when I'm, you know. So I might try it at home, but not, okay. Joni Mitchell's always a good comfort for me. I have many, many albums. You know, it used to be Leonard Cohen, but I'm not so into him anymore. Oh yeah, I'm really into Tom Waits again. I haven't listened to him for a long time, but I love Tom Waits. So I have an anthology album. I love when he was early on, he was quite melodic, and then gets gruff, you know, that's fine. But I like the melodic stuff. And I like, who else do I like right now? Oh, I like Kate and Anna McGarrigle. They make me feel good. I like Kate and Anna McGarrigle. I like lyrical things. I don't know.
That's pretty good.
Okay.
Marsha?
I was just going to mention the thing in your head all the time, because I'm aware of that. I don't know whether it's good or bad. I guess I've never been someone who's really been disciplined to work out or anything. I only take care of aches and pains when they arrive. But back to the thing of being in your head. When my mother, like, she lived till 90, and she was somewhere in her 80s, and we were talking about aging. And she says, I don't think of myself as whatever number it was at that moment. She says, I still feel like I'm the same person as when I was really young.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, when you start going through those years and you're closer to the age that my mom was when she said that, I understand what she meant. But again, it's that whole thing of living in your head, that you're kind of this thing in this temporary physical state where you can, through your mind, move through time as well.
Okay, so can you repeat that question? I'm not good at synthesizing questions. It's about feeling.
It's about your voice, your original voice, the youthful voice, which you already explained.
Yeah, it's about feeling. How do you feel? Like Marsha said, her mom, when she was in her 80s, said that she feels like she always did, like no different, like as a person. And I think that I've heard that from a lot of people. I feel the same way. Like I feel like the same young person. But the reality is, and that goes back to Holly's question, that the reality is, if you can forget about yourself, you're really at the core of who you really are. And that's if you can forget about your body, the thing that aged, right? Because your mind doesn't have to age, right? If you don't have a disease, your mind will not age. You will feel like that young person. And I am trying to get to that spot, to who I really am and what I really feel. I am trying to get there. So forgetting about the body is fantastic for that, because the body has the aches and the pains and all that. So if you can forget that, I want to do that. I want to do that. Mm-hmm. But also, I mean, I've had periods of working out at the gym and kind of like that too, because I kind of like feeling proud of myself, but there's no room for pride in the studio. Hey, that would be a good t-shirt, don't you think? There's no room for pride in the studio. Like, that's pride so I fit in better socially. That's what pride is. Yeah.
It also, that temperament or that place in your mind is also armor. Because we can project that kind of feeling and partially believe in it, but it's also armor.
Mm-hmm. Right. And people want to take care of themselves because they want to live a long life, right?
Yes.
You want to live a long life, so you want to be healthy. But when I'm in the studio, I want to think about how my feelings, my emotions, and that's what I want to think about.
Very good. There's another question or comment here. Sorry, yeah.
I was going to ask, if we did live in a society where women were valued at your age, what do you think we should be doing?
Okay, the question was, I can repeat this. If we did live in a society where women were valued as they aged, what would I make art about? What do I think I would make art about? Let me think. If women were valued, I wouldn't have to make art about this. So I don't know what I would make art about. Yeah, that's a good question. Maybe
You've
what, Marcia?
always held close animals.
Yeah, okay. I love animals. I do. I love animals. Well, I love the human-animal bond. That's what I love. I have 2 dogs now. I love the human-animal bond because what I love about it is that there's no judgment in there. The animal they live in the moment. They live in the moment. There's no guilt. There's no thinking, oh my God, what I did yesterday, I made such a fool of myself. Why did I say that? What am I going to do tomorrow? What do I have to do? What did I forget to do? What are my responsibilities? Animals don't think that. They think, I'm happy right now. I need to eat. I need to drink. I want to go play. It's so simple. And I love being around animals because of the simplicity. So maybe it would be animals. Maybe it'd be flower. I mean, I love nature. But no, there's a lot to do. People are very complicated. Or it would be some complication about psychology and people's interactions. I mean, that's what interests me the most is people's interactions. Or maybe I do beautiful paintings of dancers because I love the way the body looks and just celebrate it. But I think your question, it sounds like it's sort of, just a dream kind of thing because we know it's not going to happen. But I think it's pretty serious, actually, because the thing is that there's always something it's about social action. There's always something that should be commented on and critiqued. And that's what I want to do. I don't want to just make things that look beautiful. I mean, I have aesthetic, requirements for my work, of course, but I want to make a work that makes some change or suggests some change or suggests that life could be better in some way. So I'm not into making art because I just want to put pretty things into the world. So I think that's really what the question was, right? Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Good point. Any other?
Yeah, I think you already answered this with your music taste, but you did. I was convinced that you painted the cover of an album by a band called Deerhoof, but you didn't.
Deer books?
Yeah, Hoof.
Hoof.
Yeah.
Never heard of them.
End of question.
I wanted to say though that I don't listen to podcasts. I can't listen to someone talking and all that. So I love podcasts, but I can't listen to them while I'm making art.
No.
And I don't listen to jazz, which I love because it's just too frantic for me. and I can't listen to classical music either. So I need some lyrics.
I hate classical.
So there are some types of music that don't work for me in the studio. And I just got earbuds about a year ago. And oh, so great. Because I used to have that cord hanging here, and not to mention it was filthy. It used to pull me down because it would get all tangled up and it was horrible. But so now I love putting those earbuds in. And I love putting them back in the case so that you go there, they fit in their little, I love that. So I've got my little I have things in the studio that give me pleasure too. Like tea and stuff like that I like to eat.
Great. Thank you so much. That was a really lovely conversation, and thanks for your questions. So now Anastasia will perform her dance work in the gallery in a few minutes. So we also want to acknowledge that we've partnered with New Dance Horizons for this event, and as a part of the Stream of Dance Festival. So thank you, Robin. I know you're here somewhere. There. So I'm going to just let you know, too, when you do move to the gallery, there are some chairs in the gallery. You're welcome to sit in them. They're strategically placed in front of the artwork. And also to let you know that Anastasia will be moving in and around you, so don't be alarmed if she's doing that. Okay, so Anastasia Avzadneva is a multifaceted contemporary artist, dancer, and circus performer. In 2019, she earned her BA honors in dance from the professional program at School of Contemporary Dancers in Winnipeg. Since June 2020, Anastasia has thrived under the artistic mentorship of Robin Poitras and Edward Poitras through New Dance Horizons Artists in Residency program. This transformative experience has deeply enriched Anastasia's artistic perspective, enhancing her understanding of creation, performance, production, and presentation. So thank you all, and we'll see you in the gallery.